that it did not start easily.
Oh dear.
And we tried it this way and that, flooding the carburetor, not flooding the carburetor. But after 20, 30, 40 pulls, eventually it spluttered into life. And once going, it was okay. And by speed, I doubt exceeded much about, fast walking pace, 5 knots maybe, but not more. But getting in the boat, as we found later, when we were just sliding it off the ice wasn't too bad, as we were able to sort of step into it off the ice with minimum of getting wet. But later on, when we were launching it from the shore, our first attempt at that was rather like a Laurel and Hardy sequence, as we were very keen to avoid getting wet as far as possible. And so we put our stores in the boat. We hauled the boat down to the sea, and dipped its nose in the water, and then we loaded the boxes or whatever was taking with us, and then we pushed and dragged the boat into the water, and when it was afloat, having removed all our clothing from the waist down, waded out with the boat and then scrambled aboard. But this was a most disagreeable experience, because the temperature of the water, as I read somewhere, and I can't say whether this is true or not, is stated to be 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 4 degrees below freezing. Not freezing, of course, because of the salt in the water. But anyway, in future, getting wet was simply part of launching the boat or coming into land. We simply waded out, and when the boat floated clear and we were armpit deep in the water, we'd scramble in and then take turns to take off our clothing, bring it out and put it back on again. The time came to make some use of it. To start with, we were doing tick-off jobs, which could be done on a sort of done from the hut, sort of a day's march, and then work, and then back to the hut. And then we came to the point when we wanted to visit an area which was to the south of the hut, and there was a walk round a long, shallow bay, and we thought we could cross the bay in the kayak and save ourselves the walk and get there quicker. And so we set off, and the weather was calm, the sea was calm, and we had a most agreeable and fun crossing to the far shore. We did what we had to do, and then came back, by which time the wind had got up and the sea was getting rather choppy, so we set off, hoping for the best, and for about half the crossing, probably a distance of, I don't know, the whole crossing must have been perhaps 3 miles, something like that, perhaps a bit more, perhaps a bit less. We got halfway across when the rising waves and choppiness swamped the Mallard engine.
Oh.
So we then had to paddle, and this we did, paddling away hard, because it was clear that the conditions were not going to get any better, and the sooner we were out of the water, the better.
Yes.
And as we approached the shore, maybe 200-300 yards away, to my consternation, Atkinson stopped paddling. And I shouted to him and said, what are you doing? What on earth's going on? And still no response. And I got rather angry with him, and I hit him with my paddle across his shoulders and said, "Get on, go on, paddle. And he started again. And we reached the shore, very glad to have completed that crossing. The upshot was there was no more kayaking. And whether that failure of resolve or drive by Atkinson presaged what was to follow, I don't know, it's a guess. But sometime later, days, a week or 2 weeks maybe, Atkinson complained that his leg was playing him up, and then it took effectively to his bed, and his leg jackknifed up, his knee, so his knee was bent, and he had a temperature and a fever, and Atkinson was never one to talk particularly about these sort of problems, but I gathered that it was due to, or possibly due to, re-inflammation of his osteomyelitis, for which he'd had operations and so forth at school.
Good gracious.
But it was apparent, and Atkinson said so, is that he needed to get medical attention. And the only medical attention we could get was in Longyearbyen, as the settlement, the mining settlement. We had no radio, we had no means of communication on any of the expeditions. And the only way to get there was by boat, first across the Sound and then heading south a little way, and then up the loch leading to the fjord leading to Longyearbyen. And the weather was not particularly suitable for this. There's quite a big sea, and however, after a further day or so, it had calmed sufficiently to contemplate doing this. And of course I had to do it entirely by myself, dragging the boat bit by bit down to the sea, and then putting petrol, fuel that we got in jerry cans, and some food and some other stores and so forth, and then finally getting Atkinson into the boat, getting him from the hut and down and into the boat, and then launching it, and then setting off, paddling away, rowing away to get clear of the shore, and then setting about getting the engine going. Eventually, the fates were relatively kind. After, I don't know, what would be a good number of pulls, like 25, the engine started and we set off. By this time, I'd become reasonably good coxswain, Uh,